Welcome back. Still with me in the studio. We are looking at women's finance, as it is Women's Month. Personal finance for women is what the topic is for this particular show. Evelyn Doubell, the Executive Head of Private Clients Consolidated Financial Planning, and Christelle Fourie, Managing Director of MUA Insurance Acceptances. Now, while we were in the break, Christelle, you were chatting to us from our Cape Town studio. Let's just go back on that conversation. You were talking about some decision made by the European Union.
Yes, the courts have ruled in the European Union that from the 31st of December this year, no insurance company is allowed to give discount based on gender. So it's a big rating factor as from a motor insurance perspective, because women are, statistically proven internationally make fewer accidents that are less severe than men. So as a result, over the years, we've seen quite a substantial discount for female drivers come through. The question is whether it will become relevant in South Africa. We don't know, but still that benefit in the European Union is going to fall away. And it's an interesting perspective, I think.
But if statistically women cause less accidents, why is the EU doing something like this?
Well, it's based in discrimination, I think. It's something, you can't really change your gender. You're definitely not to take out an insurance policy. So, so when it comes to rating based on gender, and now the next topic that they're tackling is age. So we tend to load young drivers quite heavily and give discounts for older drivers. Again, it's a rating factor that you as an individual can't change. You can improve the way you drive. You can, you can change the car that you drive, but you can't change your age and your gender. So there's this element of discrimination again, around those two topics.
Yeah, you see, to me, it's just really, quite honestly, it's just being politically correct and ignoring the facts.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But that's the Europeans. Let's hope we don't go down
well, I hope not.
that particular road. You'd agree with the statistics on female drivers?
Absolutely. I think women are much more careful than men are. And I'll probably get into lots of trouble for that. But
no. I'd put it on the line. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they are. They're a lot more conservative in all sorts of ways.
Yeah. We don't get excited when we see a dust cloud develop behind us because we're spinning our wheels. We're rather more excited about what we're seeing on the horizon. But I suppose we are different. I think if I look at my history, just driving myself, I have not had one serious accident, at least find some wood, that needed to be, I needed to be hospitalized or anything, but I mustn't bring bad luck on myself talking about these things.
What is your experience with your clients? What is their biggest concern over finances?
If you look at my women clients, their biggest concern is, whether or not they'll be able to afford their retirement. Their other concerns are, what if I get cancer? What kind of cover do I need? And cancer is a big thing. If you look at the claims that we've had, and statistically in South Africa, about 41% of the claims on dread disease policies have been cancer. And if you look at your cancer, about 80 to 90% of the cancers are caused by environmental factors: smoking, drinking, not living healthily and cleanly or clean. So those things can be avoided. But the other thing is that women also are working these days. We're not the homemakers we used to be, and we take on a lot more stress. And stress is also an environmental factor that can increase your risk of being ill, cardiovascular disease, strokes.
Are those
all those
the increase in the female
Absolutely.
population?
One out of every 4 women will suffer from cardiovascular disease.
And do they think that is a result of this added stress of having the stress of having to be the homemaker and also having to contribute to
the finances?
To
Well, it's like having 2 jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at, and this is, in today's age, you would think that men would get more involved with, the home task, and I know some do. There are some really great men out there who get involved with things, but on the whole, what I've seen with my clients and what I've seen with my staff and my colleagues is that we work a full day, and then you trot off home, and then there's homework, and there's supper, and there's shopping, and all these things. And I think guys just take for granted that these things happen. The food doesn't just appear in the cupboard. We actually have to drive in our car, go somewhere, and get the stuff. So we take on all this. We make it seem so effortless, and it just happens. Things are just there, but we take on all the stress ourselves of making sure that things are running properly. We make sure that things are run properly at work. We have a lot more empathy, but with that empathy that we have, we take in a lot more of other people's emotions and so on, and that is where that stress comes from, is that we're trying to be brave in this man's world, and we're trying not to act like girls, you know, falling all over the place and saying, oh, we can't actually cope with all the stress, and just that in itself is so much more pressure just to conform and be a woman in a man's world. And it's a lot, yes. I mean, you can just imagine you doing a full day's work, running, you know, driving home, picking kids up from extramurals, going off to the shops, picking up whatever you need from the shops, coming home, cooking it, getting everybody to bed, getting up in the morning and starting all over again. It's just a little hamster on a wheel, but with a smiley face.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm just realizing how lucky my wife is, because I'm the chef in the house.
Oh,
I do all that sort of stuff, but I enjoy it. That's the difference. Christelle, I'm going to touch on something here which may make a few women a little bit upset, but I'm terribly sorry if you do get upset by it. How, in your opinion, and this is really just a thumbsuck, how many millions of rands of undeclared goods, let's put it that way, do you reckon are sitting in cupboards in homes in South Africa? By undeclared goods, I mean that pair of Jimmy Choo shoes which you went out and bought and didn't tell your husband you'd bought, so it's not even in the insurance claim.
Well, it's such an interesting question. We send out valuators to do contents valuations of all our clients, and it's so funny because they arrive and then there's a conversation that takes place with the husband present, and then if the husband goes away, the woman goes, okay, now I can really show you what I have, and then at the bottom of the cupboard it's the Louis Vuitton handbag, or maybe not even that expensive, but there's especially under the clothing section, the wardrobe section, we're finding massive underinsurance, so up to 70% underinsurance on women's clothing and wardrobe items. So, and I honestly believe it's because we do that. We buy things, we keep it sort of quiet, put it in the cupboard, and then a few weeks or days later we say, oh, this is old, bought it months ago, don't you remember? And as a result we see a massive underinsurance problem, and also items are just not listed, so when there's a claim often the items aren't actually specified on the policies.
It's part of our conservatism.
I told you.
Yes.
We don't want to be seen to be extravagant. So
is that a fact?
From my experience, yes.
Because men are very different in that way. I mean, we will say, we're going away on a boys' weekend, we're going to Zambia to go fishing for a week. We'll declare it up front.
Yeah, but that's all part of bragging. I can afford this kind of thing, you know. Whereas women, we tend to
make out you can't afford
that, you know, he's the breadwinner and he's providing, and you know we're also providing, but not as much as he is. And so you know we can't be extravagant and go and buy stuff that we seemingly can't afford. And I suppose it's I can't remember. Well, I used to do this as well when I was married. I'm divorced, but I don't hang out at nightclubs and park my car outside pubs all night.
Oh, you're just trying to get a decent
my insurance people know that.
Yes.
I'm at home. But I think it's also like taking risk. Like you said, 70% of the things are undeclared. And that's the same thing. Only 26% of women are happy, confident, making their own investment or riskier investment decisions. So that kind of ties up with that number. And I think that you find that the more conservative the person is, the more likely they are to hide their extravagant or their risky behavior, because it's not seen as
you
proper
see,
or right.
We put together a show to talk about personal finance for women, and it becomes about psychology.
But it is. Money is, you know, money is about psychology. I mean, if you, when I see a client, I don't talk to them about the money. I talk to them about the behavior. Your behavior is what drives that your planning. So if you don't have the right behavior in place, you're not going to have the right plan in place. You can put as much money in there as you want, but if, let's say, like for example, people say, I'm going to use my provident fund when I leave my company to pay off my bills. Now, how did you get the bills in the first place? So if you pay off your bills, and then you've got a clean slate, what you're going to do, if you don't change your behavior, you're going to go back to the same behavior. and you're going to get bills again, and you're going to leave that next company and pay that off again. So if you don't change the way you do things and the way you act in circumstances, you're going to continuously do the wrong thing.
Christelle, we're running out of time here quickly. From a short-term point of view, what would be the single most important thing you think you could impart to any female?
It's just so important when you do get insurance quotes to make sure that you are looking at the fine print, and if you don't just look at bottom line premium, because excesses, terms, conditions, endorsements, all those things restrict or extend your cover. So compare apples with apples, and it is really, really important, I think, to have a financial advisor or a broker assisting you, advising you on the different aspects of insurance. That's the best piece of advice I have.
Thank you very much. From a female point of view, I would imagine that they would possibly be a little bit more comfortable with a female advisor, because then you'd sit down and you don't go straight into the meeting. You sit and talk about children and all sorts of clothing issues and all the rest of it.
Not really clothing so much, but certainly about family and about what's important to them. So you look at the bigger picture and say, right, well, how do you fit into that? And then how do we keep you in that environment? So yes, you don't just go straight. And I find that you know, with a men financial advisor, not all of them, but they tend to talk about the money, whereas we talk about our experiences and what we would like to achieve. We look at the end result and work backwards. So there's a different way of dealing with women. And I think the most important thing I'd say to any woman is take yourself seriously. Do your research. You are important. Look at the person in the mirror. You're going to become an older person. You wouldn't go and take your mother's money and blow it. Don't take your own money and blow it. Make a plan for that person that you're going to become and have respect for her. She needs you right now to make sure that she's going to be okay when she gets older.
Thank you, ladies, both of you, for your time. And I think the one thing I take out of this entire show is 3 words, which were mentioned by one of our females on the panel. We are different. My goodness gracious me, we are. Until next time, bye-bye.